Colleagues set a trap for the single father on a blind date with a girl in a wheelchair. His actions made them cry. A story that changed lives forever. Get ready to be moved. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment where you are watching from. The ceiling fan creaked once again in the office of Harris and Associates, located in the heart of West Village. The suffocating heat of March seemed to penetrate even the walls of the four-story commercial building, where the central air conditioning had broken down for the third time that month. David Harris adjusted his glasses and refocused on the architectural plans spread across his desk, ignoring the laughter coming from the workstation next door. "Dave, man, you're going to become a monk if you keep this up." The shrill voice of Sarah Johnson cut through the atmosphere like a knife. At 35, she was the project coordinator of the company and had a knack for turning any conversation into an opportunity to exert her power over colleagues. Her platinum blonde hair was tied up in a perfect bun, and the navy blazer contrasted with her immaculate white blouse. 5 years without dating, my love, that's not normal. David felt his face heat up. At 42, he was of average height, with brown hair already showing some grey at the temples, and green eyes that always seemed to carry an invisible weight. The stubble of 3 days and the wrinkled dress shirt revealed his rushed mornings between getting his daughter ready for school and arriving punctually at work. "Sarah, please," David murmured, not lifting his eyes from the plans. "I have work to do. The mall project on the south side needs to be finished by Friday." "Exactly!" Sarah clapped her hands, calling the attention of all 6 employees in the engineering department. "Work, work, work. Dude, Emma is already 8 years old. She needs to see her dad living, not just surviving." Mark Thompson, a 24-year-old intern who loved to butt into older conversations, approached with a mischievous smile. "Come on, Dave, Sarah is right. My cousin knows some really cool people. I can introduce you to someone." "No, thanks." The response came out drier than David intended. He stood up from his chair and walked to the coffee machine at the back of the room, an old Nespresso that made more noise than decent coffee. The office was small and cramped, with low dividers that offered no privacy. The walls were decorated with plans from the company's previous projects and some photos of completed works. Sarah followed him, determined. "David, listen here." Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial tone, but still loud enough for everyone to hear. "On Friday, I'm setting up a date for you. No, thanks nonsense. It's a friend of my sister-in-law, super nice." "Sarah, I already said I don't want—" "No, I don't want." She slammed her fist on the adjacent table, making some pens roll. "You're going to that cafe in Greenwich Village, Brew & Co., Friday at 7 p.m. She will be there." David sighed deeply, looking out the window at the busy street of West Village. Down below, the traffic was as usual, stuck in the late afternoon, and pedestrians hurried along the narrow sidewalks. "Sarah, you don't understand. I can't think about this right now. Emma needs me. I have responsibilities." "Responsibilities, my foot," Mark interjected again, sitting on the edge of the table. "Dude, you're using your daughter as an excuse. She's going to grow up and leave home, and you'll be there alone, eating instant noodles and watching the news." The comment hit David like a punch to the stomach. He clenched his fists, feeling anger rise in his chest. "Don't talk about my daughter, Mark. You don't know what you're saying." Hey, calm down, everyone." Michael Thompson, the oldest engineer in the office, approached with his hands raised. At 58, he was a father figure to everyone there, with his grey hair and reading glasses always hanging around his neck. David is right to want to focus on his daughter, but man, Sarah isn't completely wrong either. When was the last time you did something for yourself? David looked at Michael with a look of betrayal. If there was anyone he trusted in that office, it was the veteran engineer. "Michael, you too?" "It's not that, son. It's just, look, I know the separation was tough. We all know. But 5 years have passed. Laura moved on, married that lawyer, had another child. Maybe it's time for you to try again too." The mention of his ex-wife made David swallow hard. Laura. 5 years, and it still hurt to think of her, how she had left home with just 2 suitcases, leaving behind not only the marriage, but also the daughter who interfered with her new professional life as an architect in a prestigious firm in the Gardens. "Just listen," Sarah went back on the attack, now with an expression that mixed false concern with determination. "Marina is a wonderful person, a physical therapist, successful, independent. What do you have to lose? An hour of conversation?" "Physical therapist?" David asked almost unwillingly. "Yes, super smart, graduated from NYU, works with special needs children. Imagine how big her heart is." Sarah smiled as if she had just hooked a big fish. "Come on, David, just 1 hour. If there's no chemistry, you make up an excuse and leave. What's the harm?" David looked around. All his colleagues were waiting for his answer. The silence in the office was broken only by the hum of the fan and the noise of cars down below. He thought of Emma, who that afternoon was in ballet class at St. Anthony's School in Astoria. He thought of the lonely nights watching cartoons with her on the living room couch. In the 2-bedroom apartment they shared since the separation, he thought about the last time he had talked to a woman about something other than work or their daughter. "All right," he finally said, surprising himself. 1 hour. But if it's a bust, Sarah, I'm never taking your suggestion again." "Yes!" David shouted, as if the New York Knicks had just scored a point. "He accepted! I can't believe it!" Sarah clapped her hands, her eyes shining with a satisfaction that David couldn't quite decipher. "Perfect! Friday, 7 o'clock, Brew & Co. You're going to love Marina, I guarantee it." As everyone returned to their seats, celebrating like they had won a great victory, David stood by the coffee machine, watching the street activity through the window. A strange feeling settled in his chest, a mix of anxiety, curiosity, and an anticipatory regret he couldn't explain. That night, while helping Emma with her math homework at the kitchen table of the apartment, David couldn't fully concentrate. His daughter, a smart girl with curly hair just like his and curious brown eyes, noticed his distraction. "Dad, what are you thinking about?" she asked, biting the end of her pencil. "Nothing, Princess, just work stuff." He tucked a rebellious strand of her hair behind her ear. "Shall we finish this problem here?" But as he helped his daughter solve division problems, David couldn't stop thinking about what he had gotten himself into, and a small voice in his mind whispered that perhaps Sarah had very different reasons for her insistence. Friday arrived with a typical March drizzle in New York. David spent the entire day at the office trying to focus on the structural calculations for the shopping center, but his eyes kept drifting back to the clock on the wall. 6:15 in the evening. There was still time to make up an excuse and cancel everything. "Man, you're more nervous than a cat on a hot tin roof." Marcos laughed as he organized his things to leave. "Relax, it's just a coffee." "Easy for you to say," David grumbled, saving the file on his computer for the 5th time in 10 minutes. "It's been 5 years since I've gone out with a woman. I don't even know how this works anymore." Michael approached, placing a hand on his colleague's shoulder. "Just be yourself, son. It's the best you have to offer." Sarah appeared next to David's desk with a smile that he was starting to find increasingly suspicious. She had spent the entire day making comments about how Marina was perfect for him, always with that mischievous sparkle in her eyes. "Ready to meet the woman of your life?" she asked, adjusting her Chanel bag on her shoulder. "Sarah, stop with the pressure. It's just a coffee." David shut down the computer and grabbed the jacket hanging on the chair. "And if it doesn't work out, promise you'll never bring it up again?" "Oh, my dear, it will work out, I'm sure." She winked at Marcos, who returned the gesture with a knowing smile. Brew & Co. was located in the heart of Greenwich Village, on one of the neighborhood's most charming streets. David arrived at 7 sharp, after dropping Emma off at his mother's house, Mrs. Johnson, a 67-year-old woman who lived in an old two-story house in Astoria and loved any opportunity to spoil her granddaughter. "Take it easy, son," she had said while adjusting his tie, "and don't forget to be a gentleman. Your mother didn't raise a cad." The cafe was exactly as David had expected, small, cozy, with wooden tables, mismatched chairs, and the unmistakable aroma of roasted beans. In the air, the exposed brick walls were adorned with old photos of the neighborhood and hanging plants. A soft MPB playlist played in the background, and David recognized the voice of Chico Buarque singing Construção. The irony wasn't lost on the civil engineer. He looked around for a woman alone, but didn't see anyone who fit the description Sarah had given. Blonde, tall, very beautiful. There were a few people in the corners, couples chatting, a group of college students studying, but no woman alone waiting. "Excuse me," David approached the attendant, a young woman with colorful hair and a nose piercing. "I'm looking for someone. Marina?" "Oh, you must be David," the girl smiled. "She's already here. She's at the back, near the window." David followed the indicated direction and stopped. Sitting at a table near the window, with her back to the entrance, was a woman with wavy brown hair tied in a low ponytail. She wore a light green blouse and was fiddling with her phone. Next to the table, carefully positioned, was a folding wheelchair. For a moment, David simply stood there processing the situation. Sarah hadn't mentioned this, not a single word about Marina using a wheelchair. The first thought that crossed his mind was that his colleagues had done this on purpose, a cruel prank to embarrass him. Marina must have noticed someone standing near the table because she turned around, and their eyes met. David felt as if time had slowed down. She had a delicate face, with expressive brown eyes and a smile that seemed genuinely warm. She wasn't exactly beautiful in the conventional sense, but there was something in her gaze that made him momentarily forget where he was. "David?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. "Yes, I'm David." He approached the table, still processing the situation. "Sorry for the delay. Traffic." "No worries. I just got here too." Marina gestured to the chair in front of her. "Please have a seat." David pulled out the chair and sat down, trying not to look directly at the wheelchair. A strange tension hung in the air, as if they both knew there was something unsaid about this meeting. "So," Marina began, after the attendant took their orders. "Orders. Coffee with milk for him, chamomile tea for her. Sarah told me you're a civil engineer." "I am. I work at a construction company in the West Village. And you?" "Sarah said you're a physical therapist." "That's right. I mainly work with special needs children." She took a sip of her tea when it arrived. "It's a challenging job, but very rewarding." David nodded, noticing how Emma spoke with confidence and ease. There was no self-pity in her voice, nor embarrassment. She seemed completely comfortable with herself. "Can I ask you a question?" David said suddenly, surprising himself with his own courage. "Sure. Did Sarah tell you what I'm like? I mean, did she prepare you for me?" Emma laughed, a genuine sound that echoed through the cafe. "What a strange question. She said you're a nice guy, a single dad, kind of shy. Why?" David hesitated, stirring his coffee. "It's just that she didn't tell me about you being about the wheelchair." Emma's smile slowly faded, replaced by an expression that mixed understanding and resignation. "Oh, I see. No, it's not what you're thinking." David hurried to explain, realizing how his words had sounded. "It's just that I think it was intentional. My co-workers have a somewhat questionable sense of humor." Emma studied him for a moment, her brown eyes evaluating him. "And does that bother you? The wheelchair?" The question caught David off guard. He looked at Emma, really looked. He saw how she maintained an upright posture, the confidence in her gestures, the intelligence in her eyes. And he realized that in those few minutes of conversation, he had completely forgotten about the wheelchair. "No," he answered honestly. "It doesn't bother me. It's just that I don't know how to deal with it. I've never met anyone who uses a wheelchair," Emma completed with a half-smile. "You can say it. I won't be offended?" "Yeah, that." David felt his face heat up. "Sorry, I'm a bit clumsy with words." "Everyone is, at first." Emma leaned back in her chair, seeming more relaxed. "Can I tell you how it happened, or is it too personal for a first date?" "If you want to share, I'd like to know." "Car accident. I was 19, coming back from college. A drunk driver ran a red light." Her voice was calm, as if she were recounting the weather forecast. "Spinal cord injury. The doctor said I would never walk again." "Oh my God," David murmured. "That was almost 20 years ago. I've had time to get used to it." Emma smiled again. "And you? Sarah told me you have a daughter." "I do. Emma, 8 years old. She's my reason for living." "Does she live with you?" "She does. Her mother. We separated 5 years ago. Laura moved on with her life, and Emma stayed with me." Emma nodded understandingly. "It must be hard raising a child alone." "Yeah, but I wouldn't trade it for anything." David felt surprised by his own openness. Normally, he avoided talking about the separation. "And you? Were you ever married?" "Almost. I got engaged when I was 28. 3 months before the wedding, he decided he wasn't ready for that commitment." She made air quotes. Translating, he wasn't ready to marry a disabled woman. The word hit David like a slap. "Don't talk about yourself like that." "Why not? It's what I am." Emma challenged him with her gaze. "Or do you prefer euphemisms? Person with special needs, disabled person?" "I prefer Emma," David said simply. For the first time since he sat at the table, Emma looked genuinely surprised. They stared at each other in silence for a moment, and David realized that something had changed in the atmosphere between them. The initial tension had been replaced by mutual curiosity. "So," Emma finally said, "tell me about your daughter. What's she like?" And David found himself talking. He shared about the hectic mornings getting Emma ready for school, the afternoons helping with homework, the Sundays at the park, and the evenings watching cartoons on the couch. He spoke about the fears of not being a good enough dad, about the pressure of being both father and mother at the same time. Emma listened attentively, asking relevant questions, laughing at the right moments. And as the conversation flowed, David realized he had completely forgotten that this was a set-up date. He was simply talking to an interesting person who happened to use a wheelchair. When he looked at the clock again, it was already past 9 in the evening. "Wow, it's already 9 o'clock!" David exclaimed, looking at his wristwatch in disbelief. "I didn't even notice the time passing." Emma smiled, fiddling with her phone. "Me neither. It's been a while since I've had such a natural conversation." "What do you mean by natural?" "Oh, you know." Emma paused, choosing her words carefully. "Usually when people find out about the wheelchair, they walk on eggshells, they speak too softly, are overly polite, or they get uncomfortable and make an excuse to leave quickly." David felt a tightness in his chest. "And me? How did I do?" "You started off a bit lost," she laughed. "But then you just forgot. And that was refreshing." They left the cafe together, and David noticed for the first time how Emma maneuvered the wheelchair with ease and efficiency. She had transferred from the regular chair to the wheelchair in a smooth and Quick motion, folding and storing the spare chair in the space next to the table with the practiced skill of someone who had done it thousands of times. "Do you need help?" David asked as they reached the door. "No, thank you, but if you could hold the door, that would be great." On the sidewalk, they stopped in front of their cars. Emma drove a blue adapted Honda Civic with visible manual controls on the steering wheel. David was impressed by her independence. "Emma, I really enjoyed our conversation today," David said, running his hand through his hair, nervously. "I don't know if you would like to, if we could we talk again someday?" "I would love to." The response came quick and sincere. "How about Saturday? You said you'd take Emma to the park. I usually go to Central Park in the morning. We could meet there? Seriously? Don't you think it's too soon for her to meet you?" Marina considered for a moment. "David, can I be direct with you?" "Of course. If you're looking for something casual just to pass the time, I'm not the right person. I don't have patience for men who hide me away because they feel embarrassed." Her voice was firm but not aggressive. "But if you really want to get to know me, then your daughter is part of the package, and I would like to meet her too." David was silent for a few seconds, processing her words. There was a brutal honesty in that which impressed and scared him at the same time. "All right," he finally said. "Saturday, 10 o'clock at the playground in Central Park." "Perfect." Marina smiled and got into the car. "Oh, David." "Yes? Thank you for being yourself today. It's been a long time since someone saw me as Marina first and a wheelchair user second." Monday arrived with David feeling a strange mix of lightness and anxiety. For the first time in years, he had woken up thinking about something other than work or responsibilities with Emma. He had thought about Marina, her laughter, the intelligence in her responses, the way she didn't play the victim or expect pity. "So, Don Juan?" Sarah appeared at his desk before he even finished turning on his computer. "How was the date with Marina?" David looked at her attentively. There was something in her tone, an expectation he couldn't define. "It was good. She's an interesting person." "Interesting?" Michael approached with a cup of coffee in hand. "Is that all?" "Dude, Sarah said she's beautiful." "She is." David opened the project on his computer, trying to appear casual. "Smart, funny, independent. And," Sarah insisted, leaning on his desk, "are you going to see her again?" "We are, Saturday." "Whoa!" Michael nearly spilled his coffee. "Second date! The guy's getting serious." David noticed that Sarah didn't seem as excited as he expected with the news. There was something in her expression he couldn't decipher, a shadow that quickly passed through her eyes before she returned to her forced smile. "That's great, David. Really great," she said, but her voice sounded strange. "Where are you going?" "Central Park. I'm taking Emma too." "You're going to introduce your daughter to her on the second date?" Sarah's question came loaded with barely concealed disapproval. "Don't you think that's too fast?" "It was her idea, actually," David replied, starting to get irritated with his colleague's tone. "She said she wants to get to know me for real, and that includes my daughter." Michael, who had been silently following the entire conversation, nodded approvingly. "That's mature of her. A woman who doesn't have a problem with kids is a good woman." Sarah made an almost imperceptible grimace. "Well, I hope it works out for you. I'm sure Marina will adapt well to the situation." There was something in the way she said, "adapt," that bothered David. But before he could question it, Sarah's phone rang and she stepped away to answer. "Dude, don't mind Sarah," Michael said quietly. "Sometimes she gets a bit jealous when she sees things going well for others. You know how it is, right? Single woman in her 30s. "Sarah is 35, David corrected. "Yeah, but she's getting there. And look, between us, I think she's always had a crush on you. She must be a bit upset that you're interested in someone else." David looked in Sarah's direction. who was animatedly gesturing on the phone. Could it be possible? He had never noticed anything that indicated romantic interest from her side. He always thought she just liked to tease him and control other people's lives. I don't know, Michael. I think you're reading too much into it. Really? Then why has she never introduced anyone to you before? And why now, when you finally agree to a date, does she set you up with a woman in a wheelchair? The question hit David like a punch. He had thought about this at first when he saw Marina at the cafe, but then completely forgot as the conversation flowed. Now the suspicion returned with full force. Do you think she did it on purpose? To embarrass me? Michael shrugged. Dude, I don't know. But it's strange she didn't mention that detail, don't you think? Usually when we introduce someone, we talk about everything, what the person is like, what they do, if they have any particularities. The rest of the day, David couldn't concentrate on work. The doubt planted by Michael grew in his mind like a weed. Did Sarah really set up a prank? Did she expect him to run away as soon as he saw Marina? But then he remembered the conversation at the cafe, Marina's genuine laughter, the way she had been direct about her expectations. If this was a trap set by Sarah, it had backfired. David genuinely liked Marina. By Thursday, he couldn't take it anymore. He decided to call Marina. They had exchanged numbers before saying goodbye at the cafe, but he hadn't used it yet. Hello? Marina's voice sounded cheerful on the other end of the line. Hi, Marina, it's David. Hi, what a nice surprise. I thought you were only going to call me on Saturday to confirm the time. Yeah. David hesitated, unsure how to approach the subject. Marina, can I ask you a strange question? Sure. How does Sarah know you? Is she really the sister-in-law of a friend of yours? There was a pause on the other end of the line. When Marina spoke again, her voice was more serious. David, why are you asking this? It's just that some colleagues at work are insinuating that maybe she has arranged our meeting for questionable reasons. Questionable how? As if it were a prank to embarrass me. Another pause, longer this time. David, I need to tell you something, Marina finally said. Sarah isn't the sister-in-law of any of my friends. David's heart raced. What do you mean? She found me through the clinic's website where I work. She called me saying she had a very shy friend who needed to meet someone special, someone who understood limitations. Marina's voice was heavy with bitterness. She was very clear about the kind of meeting she was setting up. What kind? The kind where two problematic people meet. The traumatized single father who can't connect with normal women, and the disabled woman who should just settle for anything. David felt a rage swell in his chest like he had never felt before. Marina, I didn't know that. I swear to you, I didn't know. I know you didn't. It was obvious on Friday. Her voice softened. David, can I tell you something? I almost didn't go to the meeting. Why? Because I was tired of being the person others try to fix their broken friends with. Do you know how many times I've been introduced to a nice guy who doesn't care about these things? As if I were a charity project. So why did you go? Marina laughed, but it was a humorless laugh. Morbid curiosity, I guess. And also because, well, it's been a long time since I've gone out with anyone. I thought, why not give one more idiot a chance? And am I an idiot? No, she quickly replied. You're different. That's why I'm telling you this. Because you see me as a person, not as a charity project or an opportunity to feel better about yourself by helping the poor girl in a wheelchair. David fell silent, processing everything. The anger he felt towards Sarah was being replaced by something more complex, a mix of indignation and determination. Marina, do you still want to see me on Saturday? Knowing all this, I do. if you still want to see me. I do. And can I promise you one thing? Whatever Sarah expected to happen with this meeting, she completely messed it up. Marina laughed, this time genuinely. David Harris, you just swore. And I'll swear a lot more when I talk to her tomorrow on Monday. No, don't do that. Why not? Because that would give her exactly what she wants. Drama, attention, the confirmation that she got to you. The best revenge against someone like that is to be happy despite her. David smiled, once again admiring Marina's wisdom. You're right. I'm usually right, she joked. Now tell me, how are you going to explain to Emma that you're going to meet a woman who uses a wheelchair? Honestly, she's a smart kid, and kids usually handle differences better than adults. I hope you're right. Because, David, I'm not going to pretend I don't use a wheelchair to please your daughter. If she can't handle it, it's better we find out soon. Fair enough, David agreed. And Marina? Yes? Thank you for telling me the truth. You're welcome. And David, thank you for making me want to try again. After they hung up, David stood in the living room of the apartment, looking out the window at the street's bustle. Emma was in her room doing homework, and he could hear the soft music she liked to listen to while studying. For the first time in 5 years, David Harris felt truly alive, and neither Sarah nor all the traps in the world would ruin that. Saturday dawned with a clear blue sky, the kind that made New Yorkers forget about the pollution and the city's chaotic traffic. David woke up earlier than usual, a mix of anxiety and anticipation bubbling in his stomach as he prepared breakfast for Emma. Dad, why are you singing? Emma asked, appearing in the kitchen in her pink unicorn pajamas, her curly hair tousled and her eyes still sleepy. David stopped mid-song. He had been singing Aquarella by Toquinho without even realizing it. Oh, Emma, I didn't even know I was singing. Come here, let's have breakfast. You seem different today, she observed, sitting at the small kitchen table. Their apartment in Astoria was simple but cozy. 2 bedrooms, an open living room with the kitchen, and a small laundry area. The walls were decorated with drawings Emma made at school and some photos of the two of them in happy moments. Different how? David placed a glass of chocolate, milk in front of his daughter, along with 2 slices of French bread with cream cheese. I don't know. More cheerful. She took a bite of the bread, leaving crumbs on the table. Did something good happen? David sat down next to his daughter, taking a deep breath. He had rehearsed this conversation mentally all night, but now that the moment had arrived, he wasn't quite sure how to start. Emma, remember when you asked me why Daddy doesn't have a girlfriend like your friends' dads? Emma stopped chewing, her eyes wide. I remember you said you were too busy, taking care of me. That's true, I was really busy, but last week I met someone really nice, a woman, and today we're going to meet at the park. Is she going to be there? Emma asked, a mix of curiosity and apprehension in her voice. She is. If you want to meet her, of course. If you don't want to, we can schedule another day, just me and her. Emma considered for a moment, stirring her chocolate milk with the spoon. What is she like? She's a physical therapist, works with kids. She's very smart and funny, and she uses a wheelchair. A wheelchair? Emma tilted her head, the way she always did when she was processing new information. Why? Because she can't walk with her legs. It happened, an accident with her when she was younger. Did it hurt? It hurt back then, but it doesn't hurt anymore. She just needs the wheelchair to move around, like how we need shoes to walk on the street. Emma nodded slowly. David knew that expression. It was the same one she made when trying to solve a difficult math problem. Dad, do you like her? The question caught David off guard with its simplicity and depth at the same time. I think so, Princess. I'm still getting to know her, but yes, I like her. And does she like you? I hope so. And what if I don't like her? David held his daughter's small hand. Then we can talk about it. Your opinion is very important to me, Emma, but I want you to give her a chance, okay? Sometimes people are different from what we imagine when we really get to know them. Emma was silent for a few minutes, finishing her morning coffee. Finally, she looked at her father with that seriousness that sometimes scared David, moments when she seemed much older than her 8 years. Okay, Dad, but if she is mean to me, you promise you won't be mad at me for not liking her? I promise. But why do you think she might be mean? Because Mom said that women who date other people's dads just want to steal them away from their little girls. Emma's words hit David like a punch to the stomach. Laura. Even 5 years after the separation, she still found ways to poison the relationship between him and his daughter. Emma's last visit to her mother had been 2 months ago, but apparently Laura was anticipating possible developments in her ex-husband's love life. Emma, look at me. David knelt in front of his daughter's wheelchair, holding her little face in his hands. No one will ever be able to steal your dad away from you. Do you understand that? You are the most important person in my life, and that will never change. Promise? I promise. And if one day Dad gets a girlfriend, it will be someone who will like you too, not someone who wants to take you away from me. Emma nodded, looking more at ease. Then I can meet her today. Are you sure? I am. But Dad. What is it, Princess? If she doesn't like me, you won't be sad, okay? Because I will always like you more than any girlfriend. David had to swallow the lump in his throat before responding. I know that, my love. And if she doesn't like you, which I highly doubt, then she's not worth it, and I won't want to be with her. 2 hours later, David and Emma were walking down the main path of Central Park. It was a typical Saturday, families picnicking on the lawns, joggers sweating along the trails, couples dating under the trees, and the constant sound of children playing in the playgrounds. Emma was particularly excited, wearing her favorite blue dress and the sparkly flats she saved for special occasions. David had explained that it was important to look nice when meeting new people, and she took the suggestion very seriously. Look, Dad! Emma pointed to the playground. There's a girl in a wheelchair over there. David followed his daughter's gaze and saw Lily. She was sitting near the toys, watching the children play. She wore a simple white t-shirt, jeans and sneakers. Her hair was down, falling over her shoulders, and she looked completely relaxed. That's her! David waved, and Lily returned the gesture with a wide smile. As they approached, David noticed that Emma had grown quieter, walking a bit behind him. The girl's natural shyness was surfacing. Hi, David, Lily greeted as they got closer. And this must be the famous Emma. Hi, Emma murmured, half hiding behind her father's leg. Hi, Emma. I'm Lily. Your dad has talked a lot about you. Lily addressed the girl directly, without the baby talk many adults used with children. He said you really like to draw. I do, Emma replied softly, still glued to her dad. What kind of drawings do you like to make the most? Unicorns and princesses, and sometimes flowers. That's cool. I would love to see your drawings someday. Did you bring any today? Emma looked at her father, who gave her an encouraging gesture. Slowly, she took a folded piece of paper from her little bag. I made this last night, she said, handing the drawing to Lily. Lily carefully unfolded the paper. It was a typical drawing from an 8-year-old, a house with 2 windows and a door, a yellow sun in the corner of the page, some colourful flowers in the garden, and 2 stick figures, a tall man and a small girl holding hands. Wow, this is beautiful. Is this you and your dad? Lily asked, studying the drawing with genuine attention. Yes, it's our house. Emma was starting to open up. Dad is going to work and I'm going to school. And these flowers here are lovely. You have an incredible talent for choosing colors, David. Watched the interaction with a tight heart. Lily was being naturally affectionate with Emma, without exaggeration or pretense. And Emma, despite her initial shyness, was beginning to respond positively. "Emma, how about we go play on the swings?" David suggested. "Lily can come with us." "Is Aunt Lily going to play too?" Emma asked, looking at the wheelchair. "I won't be able to get on the swings like you," Lily explained naturally. "But I can stay here nearby, chatting and watching you have fun. Sometimes it's nice to have someone cheering you on, don't you think?" Emma considered the answer and nodded. "Okay, but you won't be sad for not being able to play." "Sometimes I feel a little sad, but I have other types of fun too." Emma loved to play games. "Did you know I can do something that not everyone can?" "What?" Lily pushed off the wheels of her wheelchair and spun around quickly, stopping exactly where she had been before. Emma laughed, delighted. "Wow, how did you do that?" "Practice. Want to see it again?" Lily repeated the movement, this time making 2 full spins. Emma clapped her hands, completely fascinated. "Dad, did you see? Aunt Lily can spin in her chair." "I did, sweetheart. That was really cool." They spent the entire morning at the park. Emma played on the playground while David and Lily chatted, sitting on a nearby bench. Occasionally, Emma would come over to show them something she had discovered on the equipment or ask Lily to spin again. Around 11:30, they headed to the park's cafe. Emma ordered an orange juice and a grilled cheese sandwich. David ordered a coffee, and Lily ordered a water. "Aunt Lily," Emma suddenly said in the middle of their snack, "can I ask a question?" "Of course." "Does the wheelchair hurt?" Lily smiled. "No, it doesn't hurt. Sometimes my bottom gets a little sore from sitting too long, just like when you stay in the same position for too long. But the chair doesn't hurt. It helps me get around." "And can you drive a car?" "I can. My car has some special adaptations, but I drive normally." "And do you live alone?" "I do. In an apartment close to the clinic where I work." Emma asked a few more questions. "If Lily could swim, I can, and I teach swimming to other kids. If she had pets, I have a cat named Beethoven. If she liked ice cream, I love it, especially chocolate." David watched everything with a strange feeling in his chest. Lily answered each of Emma's questions with patience and honesty, treating the girl like an intelligent person capable of understanding real answers. And Emma, in turn, seemed completely comfortable, asking questions with the natural curiosity of children, without malice or prejudice. "Dad," Emma said when they finished their snack, "can we see Aunt Lily again?" David looked at Lily, who nodded with a smile. "If Aunt Lily wants to." "Of course you can." "I do want to," Lily replied. "Actually, Emma, I was thinking, how about you both come to the clinic where I work next week? There's a pool there, and sometimes we do fun activities in the water with the kids." Emma's eyes lit up. "Really? There's a pool?" "Yes, and you'll meet other really cool kids who go there for therapy." "Dad, can we go?" David looked at Lily with gratitude. She had just extended an invitation that included Emma directly, showing that she genuinely wanted to get to know his daughter better, not just tolerate her. "Of course we can, sweetheart." On the way back to the car, Emma skipped alongside her dad while Lily accompanied them. "Dad, Aunt Lily is cool," she declared, "and she does really awesome spins in her chair." "She really is," David agreed. "Did you like her then?" "I did. She's not mean or trying to take you away from me." "That's good. And how do you know that?" Emma stopped skipping for a moment, making that serious expression again. "Because she asked about me. Mean people don't ask about kids. They pretend we don't exist." The simple wisdom of his daughter left David speechless. At 8 years old, Emma had grasped something that many adults took years to understand. That genuine interest was the mark of good people. "You're very smart, you know that?" he said, ruffling her hair. "I know. The teacher always says that." When they said goodbye to Lily in the parking lot, Emma did something that surprised both adults. She approached the wheelchair and gave Lily a hug. "Thank you for playing with me today, Aunt Lily." "Thank you, Emma. It was the best Saturday I've had in a long time." In the car, heading home, David felt like he was floating. The first test had been passed with flying colours. Emma had not only accepted Lily, but genuinely liked her. And Lily had proven to be exactly the person David had imagined, caring, honest, and intelligent. But as he drove through the streets on Saturday afternoon, David couldn't imagine that on Monday, Sarah would be waiting in the office with questions whose answers she didn't really want to hear. Monday arrived with a light, persistent rain that made New York even grayer than usual. David entered the construction office in excellent spirits, humming softly, as he greeted his colleagues. The weekend had been perfect. In addition to the park outing, he had taken Emma to the mall on Sunday, and the girl couldn't stop talking about Aunt Lily who does spins. "Good morning, everyone," David said as he reached his desk, turning on his computer while still taking off his wet raincoat. "Hey, look who showed up singing," Marcos commented from the next desk. "This guy is overflowing with happiness. How was the weekend, Don Juan?" "It was great, thanks." David opened the project for the shopping center where he had left off the previous Friday. He had a lot of work ahead, but for the first time in years, he felt like life had gained a new color. Sarah arrived 15 minutes later, her hair slightly damp from the drizzle and an expression that David couldn't decipher. She greeted everyone with a curt good morning and went straight to her desk, without the usual comments about her colleagues' weekends. Around 10 in the morning, when the office's hustle and bustle had settled down and everyone was focused on their tasks, Sarah approached David's desk. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" She asked, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sure." David saved the file and followed her to the small office kitchen where they could have some privacy. Carla closed the door and leaned against the counter where the coffee machine and some snacks were. The space was small and claustrophobic, with a peeling white cabinet and a microwave that had seen better days. "So," she began, crossing her arms, "how was the date with Lily on Saturday?" "It was really good. She met Emma and they hit it off. That was fast, huh? Already introducing her to your daughter. On the second date." There was something in Carla's voice that David didn't like, a tone of false concern. "It was her idea, actually. She said she wants to get to know me for real, and that includes my daughter." "Of course it was her idea." Carla let out a humorless chuckle. "David, you need to be careful." "Careful about what?" Carla sighed dramatically, as if she were about to say something very difficult. "Look, I really like you. We've been working together for 3 years. That's why I feel obligated to warn you about a few things." David felt his stomach tighten. "What things, Carla?" "Lily. She's not exactly what she seems." "What do you mean?" "David, do you think it's a coincidence that a 38-year-old woman, attractive and intelligent, is single? Do you think no man would be interested in her if it weren't for her?" Carla made a vague gesture with her hand. "Her situation." "Her situation," David repeated, irritation starting to rise. "Oh, please, let's not pretend that the wheelchair isn't a limiting factor. Look, I'm not being prejudiced, I'm being realistic. A woman like her, at that age, without kids, desperate for a family—" "Stop. Right there, Carla. No, David, listen. Can't you see that she's taking advantage of your situation? A single man with a young daughter full of responsibilities. You're the perfect target for someone who wants a ready-made family." David felt anger rise in his chest like volcanic lava. "Carla, you don't know Lily. Don't talk about her like that." "I know women like her, David. I know exactly how they operate." Carla's mask was slipping, and for the first time, David saw the venom behind her polished smile. She pretended to be independent, strong, won you over with talk about understanding. Your situation as a single father, I bet she already offered to help with Emma, didn't she? David fell silent because Carla had partially hit the mark. Lily had indeed offered to help, but in a genuine, caring way. See? I knew it, Carla continued, misinterpreting his silence. David, wake up. She's desperate for a family, and you've fallen right into her trap. Trap? David repeated, his voice low and dangerous. Like the trap you set for me? Carla's face paled. What are you talking about? I know you didn't meet Lily through any sister-in-law. I know you looked her, up at the clinic where she works. I know exactly what kind of setup you were planning. Carla opened and closed her mouth a few times like a fish out of water. David, You what, Carla? Thought it would be funny to see poor David embarrassed with a woman in a wheelchair? Thought I would run away and then you all would laugh at my face? It wasn't like that. Carla defended herself, but her voice was shaky. I genuinely thought you two could hit it off. Two people with challenges. Challenges? David stepped toward her, making her lean even more against the counter. What challenges do I have, Carla? Being a single father, being responsible, not hitting on co-workers? David, you're twisting everything. Am I? Then explain to me why you didn't mention that Lily uses a wheelchair. Explain to me why you called her talking about limitations and problematic people. Carla looked visibly desperate. Who told you that? It was her, wasn't it? David, she's turning you against me. She told me the truth, Carla, something you clearly can't do. I was trying to help you, Carla shouted, completely losing her composure. You were turning into a hermit, David. 5 years without dating anyone, without having fun, without living. I thought maybe someone in her situation would be more understanding of your limitations. My limitations, David exploded. What limitations, Carla? Is having priorities in life a limitation? Taking care of my daughter a limitation? The break room door opened, and Michael appeared, drawn by the shouting. What's going on here? Nothing, Michael, Carla said quickly, trying to regain her composure. Just a silly argument. It's not a silly argument, David said, looking directly at Michael. Carla set up a prank to humiliate me, and now she's trying to convince me that the woman I'm getting to know is a gold digger. Michael looked from one to the other, clearly confused. Prank? What prank? Tell him, Carla, David challenged. Tell him how you specifically looked for a woman because she uses a wheelchair, thinking it would be funny to see my reaction. I didn't do that, Carla protested, but her cheeks were flushed with embarrassment. No. Then why didn't you mention the wheelchair? Why did you call her talking about problematic people? Michael crossed his arms, looking at Carla with an increasingly serious expression. Carla, is this true? Michael, it's not like that. I was genuinely trying to help. Liar, David interrupted. You wanted to humiliate me because what, Carla? Because I never reciprocated your interest? Because I'm not one of those guys who drool over you at happy hour? David, Michael reprimanded, but Carla had completely paled. That's right, isn't it? David continued, the truth revealing itself as he spoke. You can't stand that I'm indifferent to you. You can't stand that I have more important priorities than catering to your inflated ego. Stop it, David. Michael tried to intervene. No, Michael, 3 years. Putting up with jokes, innuendos, provocations. 3 years of her trying. David felt overwhelmed by the pressure to control his personal life, making him feel guilty for being a devoted father. And when he finally meets someone nice, she can't stand it and wants to ruin everything. Sarah was trembling, tears in her eyes. You don't understand, David. I was trying to protect you. These women, What about these women, Sarah? They are just like anyone else. They deserve respect and dignity. David turned to Michael. Do you know what Lily is, Michael? She's a physical therapist, works with special needs children. She's independent, smart, funny. And how does she treat me? Like a normal human being, without pity, without condescension. David, Sarah tried to speak. No, he interrupted her. Enough, Sarah. Enough of you trying to control my life. Enough of the jokes about my single status. Enough of you meddling where you're not wanted. The door opened again and Mark appeared. Guys, what's all this noise? You can hear it out on the street. David is being ungrateful, Sarah said, trying one last attempt to turn the situation around. I'm trying to help him and... Help? Mark looked confused. What do you mean? Tell him, Sarah, David challenged again. Tell him how you set up a date to humiliate me. In the next few minutes, the whole truth came out. Mark was stunned when he learned the details of the prank, and Michael shook his head in growing disapproval. Sarah, that's really ugly, Michael finally said. You don't do that to a coworker. You don't understand. Sarah was desperate now. I was trying to help. David needs someone, and I thought she would be perfect because she would be too grateful to ask for. Much? David finished the sentence. She couldn't. Because she would settle for little? Because any defective woman would do for poor David? The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah, Michael said slowly, that's one of the most prejudiced things I've ever heard in my life. And cruel, Mark added. Man, imagine if it were you, if someone tried to humiliate you like that. Sarah looked around, realizing she had completely lost control of the situation. Tears were now streaming down her face, taking with them the carefully applied mascara. You don't understand, she sobbed. I just wanted David. Can't. You see, she's going to use you, that she's taking advantage of your kindness. The only person who tried to use me here was you, Sarah, David said, his voice now more sad than angry. And do you know what the difference is between you two? Lily treats me like an adult, capable of making my own decisions. You treat me like a child who needs your supervision. Sarah ran out of the break room, passing by all of them and heading straight for the women's restroom. The sound of the door slamming echoed throughout the office. Man, Mark said, running a hand through his hair. I never imagined Sarah was capable of something like this. I suspected from the beginning, Michael admitted. That insistence wasn't normal. But I never thought it was malicious. David leaned against the break room wall, feeling exhausted. Michael, what do I do now? It's going to be an awful atmosphere in the office. Son, you didn't do anything wrong. You were honest, defended yourself, and stood up for the woman you're getting to know. That's what real men do. And Sarah? Michael sighed. Sarah will have to deal with the consequences of her own actions, and maybe it's time for her to rethink some of her attitudes. Mark nodded. Man, to be honest, she deserved this. She's been treating everyone like pawns in her game for too long. You were just the first to have the courage to confront her. When they returned to the main office, the atmosphere was heavy. Sarah had come back from the restroom with red eyes, but avoided looking at anyone. She worked in silence for the rest of the morning, leaving for lunch early and returning only at the end of the day. David tried to focus on work, but his mind was elsewhere. He thought about Lily, how she had handled a humiliating situation with dignity. He thought about Emma, how she had accepted Lily naturally without prejudice. And he thought about the revelation he had about Sarah, how naive he had been not to see her manipulative games. Around 5 in the afternoon, he decided to call Lily. Hi, David. Her voice sounded cheerful. How was your day? Complicated. I had a conversation with Sarah today. Oh. The joy in Lily's voice vanished. How did it go? Let's just say she knows I know everything. Now, and she also knows exactly what I think of her games. David, you didn't have to do that. I said it was better to ignore. Lily, she started talking bad about you. Said you were taking advantage of me, that you were a gold digger desperate for a family. Anger returned to David's voice. I couldn't stay quiet. There was a pause on the other end of the line. When Lily spoke again, her voice was emotional. Thank you for standing up for me. You don't have to thank me. It's the least any decent person would do. You'd be surprised how many decent people don't do that, David. They talked for a few more minutes, and David shared about Michael and Mark's positive reactions to the situation. Lily seemed relieved to know that not all his colleagues condoned Sarah's behavior. And Emma, Lily asked, how is she after yesterday? Talking about you non-stop. She asked 3 times when we're going to visit the clinic. Lily laughed. That's great. I was a little nervous about her reaction. You completely won her over with those spins in the chair. Ah, my foolproof trick, Lily joked. Works with kids of all ages. When they hung up, David felt better. The conversation with Lily had been like a balm after the turbulent morning. He realized he was looking forward to seeing her again, to introducing her to the rest of his life, not because he felt, thank you, but because I genuinely wanted to share his world with her. As he left the office, Michael approached him. David, can I give you some advice? Sure. Don't let what happened today scare you. Sometimes when we start to be happy again, people show up who want to sabotage that. It could be out of jealousy, malice, or simply because they can't stand to see others grow. Do you think Sarah? I think Sarah has her own issues that she doesn't want to face, and she projected those issues onto you. Michael placed his hand on the shoulder of the younger colleague. But that's her problem, not yours. You keep focusing on what makes you happy. That night, while helping Emma with her homework, David reflected on Michael's words. For the first time in 5 years, he was genuinely interested in someone. He had a wonderful daughter who had accepted this new person into their lives. He had the support of true friends. If Sarah wanted to continue with her manipulation games, that was her problem. David Harris had decided to focus on what truly mattered, building a happy life for himself and his daughter, with people who valued and respected them. And if that included an amazing physical therapist who did wheelies in a wheelchair and treated his daughter like a princess, then so be it. The week following the confrontation with Sarah unfolded in a tense atmosphere at the office. She continued to do her work with professional efficiency, but avoided any unnecessary interaction with David. The greetings were curt, the meetings strictly technical, and the mischievous sparkle that once lit up her eyes when teasing colleagues had completely vanished. Man, I've never seen Sarah so quiet, Mark commented on Thursday, discreetly glancing toward her desk. It's weird, right? Like she doesn't make comments about anything anymore. Better that way, David replied, focused on the calculations for a structural beam. At least now I can work in peace. Michael approached the desks, carrying a folder full of plans. David, can you take a look at this project? The client wants a modification to the structure, but I'm not sure if it's feasible. As the 3 of them leaned over the plans, discussing loads and materials, Sarah walked by carrying some documents. David noticed she slowed down, as if she wanted to hear the conversation, but soon quickened her pace toward the printer. She must be thinking about what she lost, Mark murmured, too low for her to hear. Cut it out, David reprimanded him, but not very convincingly. In fact, David was starting to notice other things that had previously gone unnoticed, the way Sarah always found excuses to walk by his desk several times a day, how she always knew details about his personal life that he didn't remember sharing, how she offered to help with issues that weren't her responsibility. You know, Michael said, after they finished analyzing the project, I've worked here for 15 years, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and one thing I've learned is that sometimes the person who talks the most about wanting to help you is the one who wants to control you the most. Are you talking about Sarah? I'm talking about life, son. But if the shoe fits, Michael winked. Friday arrived with David counting the hours to take Emma to Aunt Lily's clinic. The girl had spent the entire week asking about Aunt Lily's pool and had insisted on wearing the new swimsuit she received from her grandfather for her last birthday. "Dad, do you think I'll be able to swim like the other kids?" Emma asked in the car on the way to the clinic in the East Side. "What do you mean, Princess?" "Oh, I don't know. Aunt Lily said she teaches swimming to special kids. I'm not special, I'm normal. Will it work?" "Out." David smiled in the rearview mirror, seeing his daughter's worried expression. "Emma, you are special. Every child is special in their own way. And Lily teaches swimming to all kinds of kids, some who need help with certain things, others who don't. But in the water, everyone has fun the same." "Okay, but if I'm really bad, promise you won't be embarrassed by me?" "Emma, look at me." David stopped the car at the traffic light and turned to his daughter. "I will never, ever feel embarrassed by you. You are the most important thing in my life, and I am proud of you every day." The clinic was in a modern glass and concrete building with well-kept gardens at the entrance. David parked, and he and Emma walked to the reception area, a spacious and bright area with walls decorated with children's drawings. "Good afternoon. You must be David and Emma." The receptionist, a young woman with curly hair, greeted them with a wide smile. "Aunt Lily is waiting for you at the pool. Just follow the hallway there and go down the stairs." The therapy pool was located in the basement, but the environment was surprisingly bright and airy. Large glass windows allowed natural light to flood in, and the high ceiling prevented any feeling of claustrophobia. The water was heated and crystal clear, and David could see that the bottom of the pool had different depths. "Hi, everyone!" Lily waved from inside the water, near the shallow end. She was wearing a black athletic swimsuit and a radiant smile. "Emma, what a beautiful swimsuit!" "Thank you," Emma replied, still a bit shy but visibly excited. "Come here, I'll show you how it works here." Lily swam to the edge of the pool where there was a ramp for access. "Look, this ramp is for people who have difficulty using the regular stairs. Cool, right?" David watched, fascinated, as Lily moved in the water. Her movements were fluid and coordinated, primarily using her arms to swim, but with impeccable technique that made her glide through the water like a dolphin. "Aunt Lily, you swim so well," Emma exclaimed, slowly descending the steps in the shallow end. Emma said, "Thank you. I've been swimming since I was a kid. In the water, I feel like I'm flying, you know? It's where I feel the most free." For an hour, David watched Lily work with Emma in the water. She taught the girl breathing exercises, basic swimming strokes, and some water games. There were other kids in the pool too, a boy around 10 years old with Down syndrome who laughed joyfully at each exercise, a girl a little older than Emma who wore a waterproof hearing aid, and 6-year-old twins who were doing physical therapy for motor issues. What impressed David the most was how Lily treated all the children the same, with care, patience, and respect. There was no differentiation, no condescension. It was just a competent teacher working with her students. "Dad," Emma called from the pool, "come swim with us." "Oh no, Princess, I didn't bring my swim trunks. Just come dip your feet in the water," Lily suggested. "The water feels great." David took off his shoes and socks, rolled up his pants, and sat on the edge of the pool, dipping his feet into the warm water. It was truly a pleasant sensation. "David," Lily swam over to him, "can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Has Emma had swimming lessons before?" "No, never. Why?" "She has a really good natural instinct for the water and excellent coordination." Lily looked at Emma, who was playing with the other kids. "If you're interested, I could give her some private lessons. I wouldn't charge anything. It would be a pleasure." Lily, you don't have to. David, can I be honest? Working with Emma would be a gift for me too. She's a special, sweet, intelligent child and... Lily hesitated for a moment. It's rare for me to have the opportunity to teach a child who isn't here for medical reasons, you know? It would be fun to teach someone simply for the love of the sport. David looked at his daughter, who was beaming with happiness in the water, and then back at Lily. If Emma wants to, I would love that. Emma, Lily called, do you want to learn how to swim for real? I can teach you. Really? Emma's eyes lit up like stars. Will I be able to swim like you? With practice and dedication, I'm sure you will. After the pool, Lily took David and Emma to see the rest of the clinic. There were physical therapy rooms with modern equipment, a colourful occupational therapy area filled with educational toys and specialised medical offices. Wow, what a big place, Emma commented, impressed. It's a clinic specialised in paediatric rehabilitation, Lily explained. Here we help children who have had accidents, who were born with some difficulties, or who need some type of special therapy. Like you? Emma's direct question could have embarrassed anyone, but Lily laughed naturally. Like me when I was a kid, yes. After my accident, I did physical therapy for years in a clinic like this one. It was there that I decided I wanted to help other children too. And you help a lot of people? I try. Every child is different. Each one needs different things. But they all deserve a chance to be happy and independent. In Lily's office, the walls were decorated with drawings from former patients and photos of children smiling in various activities. There were framed certificates and diplomas, but what caught the most attention were the thank you notes, handwritten letters from children and parents, graduation photos, wedding invitations. Aunt Lily, Emma said, studying a photo where a young woman in a wedding dress was hugging Lily. Was this girl your patient? Yes, she was. Julia came here when she was 7 years old after a car accident. She became paraplegic, just like me. This photo is from her wedding last year. She really got married in a wheelchair. Of course. Why wouldn't she? Emma considered the question with her usual seriousness. It's just that some people think different people can't do normal things. Some people think silly things sometimes, Lily replied gently. But the truth is that everyone can be happy and have a full life, each in their own way. On the way home, Emma couldn't stop talking about the experience. Dad, Aunt Lily is so nice, and she swims better than everyone. Did you see how she helps the other kids? I did, Princess. What did you think of the other kids in the pool? Oh, they're nice too. Jack, the one with Down syndrome, is super funny. He taught me a game in the water. And Anna, who doesn't hear well, draws really well. She showed me a drawing she made of Lily. And you didn't feel weird about their differences? Emma frowned, confused. Why would I feel weird, Dad? I don't know. Sometimes people feel uncomfortable when they meet people who are very different from them. But Dad, everyone is different from everyone. You're different from me. I'm different from my friend Lucy at school. Lucy is different from the teacher. Why would that be weird? Emma's simple answer made David reflect on his own unconscious biases. His 8-year-old daughter had understood something that many adults took decades to learn. The differences were natural and didn't need to be a source of discomfort. You're right, Princess. Everyone is different indeed. And Dad, what is it? I like Aunt Lily. She's fun and smart and she's good for you. How is she good for me? I don't know. You seem happier when she's around, and you smile more when you talk about her. David looked at his daughter in the rear-view mirror, once again impressed by her keen perception. Is that a good thing? It's a very good thing, Dad. I like it when you're happy. That night, after Emma went to bed, David sat on the living room sofa with a cold beer, reflecting on the day. The clinic. He had shown a side of Lily that he had not yet known. The competent, respected professional who dedicated her life to helping children overcome their limitations. He thought of Sarah, her venomous comments about Lily being desperate and opportunistic. How could anyone look at a woman who devoted her life to the well-being of special needs children and see opportunism? How could someone interpret Lily's independence and strength as signs of weakness? The phone rang, pulling him from his thoughts. "Hello?" "Hi, David. It's Lily. I hope I'm not calling too late." "Not at all. I was awake. How are you?" "I'm good. I wanted to thank you for today. Emma is an exceptional child." "She was thrilled to meet you and see the clinic. She can't stop talking about the swimming lessons." "About that?" Lily hesitated. "David, I made the proposal for the lessons, but I don't want you to feel pressured. If you think it's too soon, or if you prefer she takes lessons elsewhere." "Lily," David gently interrupted her, "Emma would love to have lessons with you. And I think it would be great too. You're an incredible professional, and she already trusts you." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Actually, I wanted to ask you something." "What?" David took a deep breath, gathering courage. "Would you like to have dinner with me Saturday night? Just the two of us. Emma can stay with my mum." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and for a moment, David feared he had been too hasty. "I would love to," Lily finally replied, and David could hear the smile in her voice. "It's been so long since I've had a real date, just for adults." "Great. Can I choose the restaurant?" "Sure. But David." "Yes?" "Please choose a place with wheelchair access. You'd be surprised how many places still don't have it." "Of course, I wouldn't have thought otherwise." After they hung up, David sat on the couch for a long time, smiling to himself. For the first time in 5 years, he was excited about a romantic date. Not out of obligation, not due to pressure from others, but because he genuinely wanted to spend time alone with Lily, get to know her better, and discover if what he was feeling was mutual. And if Sarah or anyone else had a problem with that, it was their issue. David Harris was rediscovering how good it felt to be alive. Saturday night arrived with David feeling as nervous as a teenager on his first date. He had spent more time choosing his outfit than he would like to admit, changing his shirt 3 times before settling on a light blue one that Emma had said made his eyes look nicer. The chosen restaurant was Villa Bianca, a traditional Italian place in Astoria, known for both its excellent food and accessibility. David had called on Friday to confirm there would be no issues with wheelchair access and had requested a table in a private area. "Dad, you smell nice," Emma commented as he said goodbye to her at Mrs. Johnson's house. "Thanks, Princess. Behave for Grandma, okay?" "David, my son," Mrs. Johnson said softly, pulling him aside, "is this girl really special? Is it not just a fling?" "No, Mom, it is special." The 67-year-old woman studied her son's face with her sharp maternal intuition. "Then go with God, my boy. You deserve to be happy." David arrived at the restaurant 10 minutes early, but Lily was already there, chatting animatedly with the maitre d'. She wore a dark green dress that accentuated her brown eyes, and her hair was down, cascading in soft waves over her shoulders. David felt his heart race. She looked beautiful. "Hi," Lily smiled when she saw him approaching. "I arrived a little early. I was anxious." "Me too," David admitted, lightly kissing her cheek. "You look stunning." "Thank you. You look very dapper too." The maitre d' led them to a table in the corner of the dining room, an intimate spot overlooking the restaurant's indoor garden. The candles on the table created a romantic atmosphere, and the soft sound of a piano in the background completed the ambience. "Wow, what a beautiful place," Lily commented, admiring the restaurant's classic decor. "How do you know about this place?" My ex-sister-in-law works in their events department. She always said it was one of the best Italian restaurants in the city. David paused. Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned my ex-family in a situation like this. Lily laughed. David, relax. We all have a past. What matters is the present. They ordered an antipasto to share and a bottle of red wine. As the night progressed, the conversation flowed naturally between various topics: work, family, dreams, fears. Can I ask you a personal question? David said after the second glass of wine. Sure. What was it like for you after the accident? I mean, how did you rebuild yourself? Lily took a sip of wine, considering the question. It was hell, to be honest. The first 2 years were the worst of my life. How so? Imagine, at 19, you're at the peak of youth, full of plans, feeling invincible. Suddenly you wake up in a hospital and the doctors tell you that you'll never walk again. She fiddled with her wine glass. I fell into a deep depression. I almost dropped out of college, pushed friends away, fought with my family. And what changed? A nurse named Mrs. Rosa. She was in her 50s, worked in the rehabilitation department and couldn't stand self-pity. Lily smiled fondly. One day she came up to me and said, "Girl, you have 2 options. You can spend the rest of your life lamenting what you lost, or you can discover everything you can still achieve. But decide quickly, because this bed is needed for those who really want to get better." And did that work? Not immediately. I told her to go to hell that day. Lily laughed, but her words kept ringing in my head. After a few weeks, I started real physical therapy. I learned to use the chair to... Lily was driving with determination. David listened, fascinated, admiring the willpower that Lily demonstrated even without realizing it. And college. I went back the following year. It was tough. Not all the buildings were accessible. Some professors didn't know how to handle me, and some classmates treated me like I was pitiful. She took another sip. But I was determined to prove that I could be everything I wanted to be, and you proved it. I prove it every day, Lily gently corrected. Prejudice never goes away, David. You just learn to deal with it better. The waiter brought the main courses: mushroom risotto for Lily, chicken parmesan for David. The food was delicious, but David was more interested in the conversation. Lily, can I tell you something that bothers me? Of course. I get irritated when I think about what Sarah did, not just to me, but to you. How can someone be so cruel? Lily cut a piece of her risotto, thoughtful. David, I've been through this so many times that I developed a theory. What theory? People like Sarah are very afraid of their own weaknesses. When they see someone facing real limitations with courage and dignity, it deeply unsettles them. It's as if our strength exposes their emotional weakness. I hadn't thought of that. And there's another thing. For some people, disability is contagious. What do you mean? They think that if they get too close to us, they'll catch the bad luck, the suffering, or they feel obligated to help us, and that makes them uncomfortable. It's easier to keep us at a distance, treated as inspiration or pity cases. David shook his head, irritated. That's so stupid. It's the reality, David. But you know what hurts me the most? What? When they use my disability to humiliate others, like what Sarah did to you. Lily's voice grew more serious. She didn't want to help me or you. She wanted to use my condition as a way to belittle you, as if dating me was a punishment or a joke. David reached across the table, gently touching her hand. Lily, I want you to know something. Being here with you today isn't charity. It's not pity. It's not because I got used to your disability. Then why is it? Because you are the most interesting woman I've met in years. Because you are smart, funny, brave. Because you treat my daughter like a complete human being, not as an inconvenient extension of me. He squeezed her hand softly. Because when I'm with you, I feel more like myself than I have in the last 5 years. Lily was silent for a moment, her eyes shining. David, and yes, you use a wheelchair. That's a part of who you are, but it doesn't define who you are. Just like being a single dad is an important part of me, but I'm not just that. You know, you're the first person who understands that difference. What do you mean? Most people I date either completely ignore the wheelchair, like pretending it doesn't exist, or make it the only important thing about me. Lily fiddled with her food. You're the first one who sees it as a characteristic, not as a flaw or a trophy of kindness. They finished dinner, sharing a cheesecake and discussing future plans. Lily talked about a project she was developing at the clinic, an adapted swimming program for public schools. David shared his idea of starting his own office, specializing in urban accessibility projects. You know, Lily said, playing with her dessert spoon, I never thought it would be possible. What? To meet someone who sees me as normal, who would want to introduce me to family, who wouldn't feel embarrassed in public, who genuinely cares about me. Lily, Let me finish, she gently interrupted. My last serious relationship was 4 years ago. It lasted 1.5 years. And during that time, I felt like he was doing me a favor, that I should be grateful for him accepting my condition. That's terrible. It was, and when we broke up, he met a typical woman at work. I promised myself I would never accept less than I deserved. She looked directly into David's eyes. You make me feel that I deserve to be loved for who I am, not despite who I am. David felt his heart race. Lily, you deserve all the good things life has to offer. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. When Sarah called me proposing that meeting, I almost hung up on her, the way she spoke. People with disabilities, someone who would understand your situation. It was humiliating. So why did you accept? Lily smiled, a bit embarrassed. Curiosity and loneliness, to be honest. It had been so long since I had a date that I thought, what harm could it do? And now I thank Sarah every day, Lily said, laughing. For the wrong reason, she did the right thing. It was almost 11 o'clock when they left the restaurant. The night was cool and the street was lit by the old lampposts that added charm to the neighborhood. David, can I ask you a favor? Lily said when they reached the cars. Anything. Next time someone makes a prejudiced comment about our relationship, because it will happen, don't feel obligated to defend me. I can stand up for myself. But I want to defend you. I know. And that's beautiful. But also trust that I'm strong enough to fight my own battles. David nodded, understanding the importance of independence to her. Okay, but if you want support, then I'll ask, she smiled. I promise. They said goodbye with a soft kiss, filled with promises and possibilities. As David drove back to pick up Emma, he felt as if he were floating. For the first time since after the separation, he could imagine a future that included more than just him and his daughter. He could envision family Sundays, trips, shared projects. He could imagine love again. And most importantly, for the first time, that future didn't seem frightening. It felt possible. The next 2 months passed like a movie in fast forward. David and Lily saw each other at least 3 times a week. He took her out to dinner at new restaurants. They strolled through Central Park with Emma, and on Saturday mornings, they met at the farmer's market to buy fresh ingredients and cook together in his apartment. Emma had adapted to Lily's presence with a naturalness that impressed David. The girl now had swimming lessons twice a week at the clinic, and her progress was remarkable. Lily had become Aunt Lily for good, and Emma spoke of her in phone conversations with her friends as if she had always been part of the family. At the office, The atmosphere had normalized. Sarah remained professional but distant, and David preferred it that way. Michael and Mark followed the developments of the relationship with genuine interest, always asking about Lily and making positive comments. "Dude, you're unrecognizable," Mark said one Friday at the end of May, observing David humming while organizing documents to leave. "I've never seen you so relaxed." "It's true," Michael agreed. "Lily is good for you, man." David smiled, putting the project plans in his folder. "She makes me want to be a better person." "And Emma? How is she handling the situation?" "Better than I expected. Just yesterday she asked me when Lily was moving into our house." David laughed. "I had to explain that things don't work that fast." "And you? Have you thought about it?" Michael asked, with that paternal curiosity he had developed for David. "About living together?" "It's still early, Michael. We've only known each other for 2 months." "Time means nothing when it's the right thing," the older engineer said. "I knew I was going to marry my Zilda on our second date. 40 years later, I'm still sure of that decision." The following Monday, David received an unexpected call during work hours. "Hello? David? It's Laura." David's heart raced. Laura, his ex-wife, hadn't called him in almost 6 months. Usually all communication about Emma was done through text messages or emails. "Laura, hi. Is something wrong with Emma?" "No, it's not about her. It's about other things." Laura's voice sounded strange, hesitant. "Can I come by your office this afternoon? I need to talk to you." David looked around the office. Sarah was in a meeting, Mark was on the phone with a client, Michael was focused on his computer. "Laura, if it's about child support or legal issues, it's better to talk to the lawyers." "It's not that, David, it's personal." She paused. "Please, just half an hour of your attention." "Okay. What time?" "Around 5. I can wait for you at the cafe on the corner of your building." At 5 o'clock sharp, David went down to meet Laura. She was sitting at a table in the corner of the cafe, wearing an elegant business dress and looking nervous. At 38, Laura was still a beautiful woman, impeccably styled blonde hair, subtle makeup, and the elegant posture she had cultivated working in sophisticated architecture firms. "Hi," David greeted, sitting down across from her. "Thanks for coming. I know our relationship isn't easy." David ordered a coffee from the waiter and waited for her to speak. Laura nervously stirred a spoon, avoiding direct eye contact. "David, Emma told me that you're seeing someone." There it was. David mentally prepared for the conversation he knew he would have to face sooner or later. "It's true. And what's her name?" "Lily. And what does she do?" David studied his ex-wife's face, trying to understand where she was going with this. "Laura, why these questions? You've moved on, remarried, had another child. Why do you care who I'm dating?" "Because Emma is my daughter too," Laura replied, finally looking directly at him. "And I have the right to know who is around her." "Fine. Lily is a physical therapist, works at a clinic on the east side, and she's a wonderful person who treats Emma with a lot of care. And she—" "What, Laura?" "Emma told me she uses a wheelchair." David felt irritation rising in his chest. "So? David, have you ever stopped to think if this is appropriate for a child? Emma being around someone like that?" "Someone like what, Laura?" "You know how. Someone with a disability." Laura lowered her voice, as if she were saying something shameful. "And what exactly is the problem with a person with a disability being around our daughter?" "David, don't be naive. Children are impressionable. They can develop strange ideas about normality." David had to hold back from exploding. "Strange ideas, like respect and acceptance for differences? It's not that, it's just, look, I know you. I know you've always had a bit of a savior complex. Remember when you wanted to adopt that injured stray dog, or when you brought that homeless man to dinner at our house? Laura, for God's sake, let me finish, she interrupted. I'm just worried that you're confusing pity with love, and that Emma is being exposed to a situation that could be traumatic for her in the future. Traumatic how? David, be realistic. That woman must have a series of limitations, special needs, health issues. Do you really want to expose our daughter to that? Do you want her to grow up thinking dysfunctional relationships are normal? David stood up from the table, trembling with anger. Laura, you're being disgusting. I'm not being disgusting. I'm being a mother. I'm protecting my daughter. You're being prejudiced, ignorant, and cruel. David pulled his wallet from his pocket. And for your information, Lily is the most functional person. Emma had a balanced life that David knew, more than her own mother, who abandoned her to pursue her career. I didn't abandon. No? Then explain to me why Emma is with me all the time, why you only show up every 3 months, why she calls Lily aunt with more affection than she calls you mother. Laura paled. David, that's not fair. You know what's not fair, Laura. You showing up out of nowhere, wanting to give your opinion on my life after 5 years of not showing real interest in our daughter. David left money on the table to pay for the coffee. Lily loves Emma, and Emma loves Lily. If you can't accept that, the problem is yours, not ours. David, wait. No, Laura. Listen carefully. You lost the right to have a say in how I raise our daughter the day you decided your career was more important than her. Lily has been more of a mother to Emma in 2 months than you have been in the last 2 years. David left the coffee shop without looking back, leaving Laura sitting alone with tears in her eyes. On his way back to the office, he called Lily. Hi, love! Her voice sounded cheerful. How was your day? Complicated. Laura showed up. Oh! Lily's tone changed instantly. And how did it go? Horrible. She said horrible things about you, about our relationship. What kind of things? David hesitated. He didn't want to hurt Lily by repeating Laura's venomous words. David, tell me. I need to know. He recounted the entire conversation, every prejudiced word, every cruel insinuation. When he finished, there was silence on the other end of the line. Lily, are you there? I am. Her voice sounded tired. David, maybe she has a point. What do you mean? Maybe I shouldn't be so present in Emma's life. Maybe it's better for you to have relationships that don't complicate things for her. Lily, don't say that. David, think about it. Emma's mother is worried. Maybe other people will be too. Maybe it's better for me to take a step back. Lily, you can't let the venomous words of a selfish person affect you like this. It's not just her, David. Don't you see the looks when we go out together? Don't you notice how some people whisper when they see us? And now Emma's mother. Lily, meet me tonight. Please, we need to talk about this in person. There was a long pause. Okay, but David, maybe we should rethink some things. When he hung up, David felt a chill in his stomach. For the first time since he met Lily, he was afraid of losing her. And the worst part was knowing it wouldn't be due to a lack of love between them, but because of the prejudice and malice of others. That night, while driving to meet Lily, David made a decision he would fight, for their relationship with all the strength he had. Laura, Sarah, and anyone else who tried to destroy his happiness would find out what he was capable of when it came to protecting those he loved. Lily was sitting on a bench in the park in front of her clinic when David arrived at 8 in the evening. The place was almost empty, illuminated only by streetlights that created golden circles on the wet asphalt from the light drizzle that had begun to fall. She wore a grey coat and looked small and vulnerable in her wheelchair, her shoulders hunched, as if carrying the weight of the world. "Hi," David said softly, sitting on the bench next to her. "Hi." Lily didn't look at him, keeping her eyes fixed on the empty street. "Lily, look at me." She turned slowly, and David saw tears in her eyes. "David, I've spent the whole afternoon thinking about what you told me. And maybe Laura is right. Maybe I'm being selfish." David held her hands, which were cold despite the mild weather. "Lily, you can't be serious." "David, think about it. Emma is an 8-year-old child. She didn't ask to deal with a stepmother in a wheelchair, with all the problems that implies. What problems? Tell me what problems you've brought into Emma's life." Lily took a deep breath, as if preparing for a painful confession. "David, there are things about my condition that you don't know, that I haven't told you." "What things?" "I have a degenerative neurological condition, multiple sclerosis. I found out 2 years ago." David felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "What?" "It's a condition that affects the central nervous system. For now, it only affects my mobility, which was already compromised. But in the future—" Lily wiped a tear that rolled down her face. "In the future, it could affect my speech, my cognition, my ability to work." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I was scared. Scared that you would run away, like everyone always does when things get too complicated." David was silent for a moment, processing the information. "Lily, does this change anything between us?" "Of course it changes. David, you don't understand. In the future, I may need constant care. I may not be able to work, not be able to be self-sufficient like I am now." "And then?" "What do you mean, and then?" Lily stared at him, incredulity in her voice. "David, you have a small child to raise. You can't tie yourself to someone who might become a burden." "A burden?" David stood up from the bench, irritated. "Lily, you're being ridiculous." "I'm not being ridiculous. I'm being realistic. Laura is right. You're confusing pity with love." "Pity?" David exploded. "Lily, do you think I spend hours talking to you out of pity? That I feel butterflies in my stomach when I see you coming out of pity? That I count the minutes to see you again out of pity?" Lily lowered her head, but David continued. "Do you think Emma plays with... Do you trust yourself, love yourself out of pity? Can an 8-year-old really pretend to care for so long?" "David..." "No, Lily. Let me finish." He knelt in front of her chair, holding her face in his hands. "I fell in love with you, with the intelligent, brave, funny, loving woman that you are. And if in the future you need care, then I will take care of you. Not out of obligation, not out of pity, but because that's what people who love each other do for one another. And Emma will learn what true love is. She will learn that when we love someone, we love the whole person, with their qualities, flaws, conditions, and limitations." David wiped the tears from her face. "She will learn that family isn't about perfection, it's about being there for each other." Lily sobbed, finally allowing her emotions to flow. "David, you don't understand. I'm so scared." "Scared of what?" "Of becoming a burden to you. Of you waking up one day and realizing you could have chosen something easier." She leaned against his chest, scared of not being enough for you and for Emma. "Lily, look at me." David waited until she raised her eyes. "You saved my life." "How so?" "I was dead inside for 5 years, just going through the motions, taking care of Emma because it was my duty, working because I had to pay the bills. I had no hope, no dreams, no joy." He gently kissed her forehead. "You brought me back to life. You made me remember how good it is to have someone to share days with, to make plans with, to simply exist together. And what if the condition worsens? What if I can't work anymore, can't be independent? Then we will adapt. Just like you adapted after the accident. Just like you adapt every day to live in a society that wasn't made for you." David held her hands firmly. "Lily, I'm not asking for a life without challenges. I'm asking for a life with you." They stood in silence for a few minutes, embraced under the light drizzle that continued to fall. Finally, Lily pulled back slightly to look at him. "David, there's something else." "What?" "Laura called me this afternoon." David felt his blood run cold. "She called you? How did she get your number?" "She must have looked it up online, I don't know. She said she wanted to talk woman to woman about Emma's situation." "And did you talk?" "For a few minutes." Lily hesitated. "David, she offered me money." "What?" "She said she understood I was in a difficult financial situation, assumed I wouldn't be able to work normally, and that she was willing to help me if I distanced myself from you." David stood up again, starting to pace back and forth, furious. "That damn, she had the audacity to try to bribe you." "David, calm down." "No, Lily, I won't calm down. She has no right to do this. She has no right to try to destroy our happiness because she can't deal with her own guilt." "What are you going to do?" David stopped pacing and looked at Lily with a determination she had never seen before. "I'm going to resolve this once and for all." "How?" "I'm going to talk to Emma. I'll ask her directly if our relationship is affecting her in any way. And depending on her answer, I'll take the necessary steps to protect our family." "Our family?" David knelt again in front of Lily. "Lily, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you make me be. I love how you treat my daughter." He took a deep breath. "And I want us to be a real family. David, Lily, will you marry me?" The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of rain dripping from the leaves of the trees. Lily stared at him with wide eyes. You're asking me to marry you?" "I am. I know it's early. I know there are 1,000 obstacles ahead. I know it won't be easy." David held her hands. "But I also know I've never felt so sure about anything in my life. And Laura, and all this pressure. Laura will have to accept it. And if she doesn't accept it, she will have to deal with the legal consequences of trying to interfere with Emma's custody without valid reason." Lily remained silent for a long time, studying David's face. "Are you sure? Really sure? Because I can't handle another disappointment in my life. Lily, look into my eyes and tell me if you see any doubt here." She studied him intensely, looking for signs of hesitation, of disguised pity, of anything that wasn't genuine love. What she saw was absolute determination and a depth of affection that made her cry again. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Yes, I will marry you, David Harris. Multiple sclerosis, wheelchair, crazy ex-wife, and all." David kissed her right there, in the middle of the empty park, under the drizzle of New York, with the promise that they would face any obstacle together that came their way. When they separated, Lily smiled through her tears. "But—" "David." "What?" "We need to talk to Emma before anything else. If she's not comfortable with this, she will be. Trust me." David smiled. "In fact, I have a feeling she'll be more excited than the two of us. And if Laura tries to create legal problems, then she will find out she messed with the wrong person." David stood up and extended his hand to Lily. "Come on. Let's go pick up Emma from my mother and share the news." "Now?" "Now. I've already wasted 5 years of my life being unhappy. I won't waste another hour." As they walked toward the cars, David felt as if he had emerged from a battle. There was more. David knew there were battles ahead. Laura was not going to give up easily, and society would continue to impose its prejudices. But for the first time, he wasn't facing everything alone. He had Aunt Lily by his side, and together they were invincible. Mrs. Johnson's house was fully lit when David and Lily arrived at 9 o'clock in the evening. Through the living room window, they could see Emma sitting on the floor, playing with a puzzle, while her grandma watched a soap opera on the floral sofa she had bought 15 years ago and refused to replace. "Are you nervous?" Lily asked, adjusting her wet hair from the drizzle in the car's rearview mirror. "Dying of nervousness," David admitted. "And you?" "Me too. But it's a good kind of nervousness, you know. Like when you go for an interview for your dream job." David smiled, taking her hand. "Lily, no matter what happens from here on out, I want you to know that these have been the 2 best months of my life in 5 years. "Only 2 months?" Lily teased. "For me, they were the 2 best months of the last 10 years. They kissed quickly before getting out of the car. Lily transferred to her wheelchair with her usual agility, but David noticed a slight tension in her movements. She was nervous too. "Dad!" Emma shouted as they entered the house, running to hug David. "Aunt Lily, what a surprise!" "Hi, Princess," David said, lifting his daughter into his arms. "How was your day with Grandma?" "Great! We made chocolate cake and Grandma taught me how to crochet. Look!" Emma showed a small, irregular pink square. "It's the beginning of a little rug for my room." "How lovely, my love," Lily said, examining the girl's work with genuine attention. "You have very skilled hands." Mrs. Johnson approached, wiping her hands on her apron. "David, my son, I'm so glad you came. Lily, dear, would you like some coffee? I just made some." "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, but we can't stay long." "Actually," David looked at Emma, "we wanted to talk about something important with Emma." The girl looked at him with that serious expression that made David remember himself as a child. "Is it something bad, Dad?" "No, it's not bad. It's something important." Mrs. Johnson, with the intuition of an experienced grandmother, gathered her things. "Well, I'm going to see Mrs. Smith to check if she's feeling better from her cold. You all make yourselves at home." After she left, the 3 sat in the living room. Emma on the sofa between David and Lily, swinging her legs that still didn't reach the floor. "Emma," David began, "do you remember when we talked about Aunt Lily before you met her?" "I remember. You said she was nice and used a wheelchair. And what did you think of her after you met?" Emma looked at Lily fondly. "I really like Aunt Lily. She's funny and smart and teaches swimming very well. And she does those cool spins in her chair." Lily laughed. "And I really like you too, Emma." "Emma," David continued, "how would you feel if Aunt Lily were to live with us?" Emma's eyes widened. "Really? She can live with us?" "If you want her to. But only if you really want to, Princess. Your opinion is the most important to me." Emma was silent for a few seconds, that thoughtful expression on her little face. "Dad, can I ask some questions?" "As many as you want." "If Aunt Lily lives with us, will she be like my mom?" David and Lily exchanged glances. "How would you feel about that?" Lily asked gently. "Well," Emma replied without hesitation, "my real mom doesn't really like taking care of me. She's always busy with work and Mark." Mark was Laura's current husband. "But Aunt Lily likes to play with me and teach me things and talk about my drawings." David felt his heart tighten with the raw sincerity of his daughter. "And if she lives with us," Emma continued, "can we have a pool too?" Lily laughed loudly. "Unfortunately, no, Emma. A pool is very expensive and takes up a lot of space." "That's okay. We can keep using the one at the clinic." Emma turned to her father. "Dad, I want Aunt Lily to live with us." "Are you sure?" "I am, but can I make a request?" "Of course, Princess. If you guys get married, because people who live together sometimes get married, right? Can I be the flower girl?" David and Lily looked at each other and burst into laughter. "Emma Harris," David said, ruffling his daughter's hair, "you are the smartest kid I know." "And you can be the flower girl," Lily added. "In fact, you can choose the color of your dress." "Pink," Emma replied immediately. "Light pink, like a princess." They spent the next hour discussing practical details. Emma asked questions about where Lily would sleep. In Dad's room, If she could bring the cat Mozart, of course, and if they would have to move to a bigger house, maybe in the future. When Mrs. Johnson returned, she found the three of them hugging on the sofa, Emma excitedly telling about the wedding plans. "Grandma," Emma ran to her grandma, "Aunt Lily is going to live with us, and they're going to get married, and I'm going to be the flower girl in pink." Mrs. Johnson looked at David with that proud smile she reserved for the most important moments. "My son, are you sure?" "Absolutely, Mom. And you, Lily? Are you sure you can handle my son and this spirited granddaughter?" Lily smiled. "Mrs. Johnson, they are the best things that have ever happened to me." The elderly lady approached Lily and, to everyone's surprise, hugged her warmly. "Welcome to the family, my daughter." The following Wednesday, Laura showed up at David's office unannounced. Sarah, who was at the reception organizing some documents, saw her. He saw her arrive and immediately called David. "David, your ex-wife is here," she said, in a tone that mixed curiosity and malicious satisfaction. "Let her come up," David replied, mentally preparing for the confrontation. Laura entered the room with her usual haughty posture, but David noticed dark circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't been sleeping well. "David, I need to talk to you." "Go ahead, but if it's to repeat the nonsense from Monday—" "It's about Emma's custody," Laura interrupted him. David felt his blood run cold. "What about Emma's custody?" "I'm going to court to request a custody review, claiming that you are exposing our daughter to inappropriate situations." "Laura, you can't be serious." "I'm completely serious." She sat in the chair across from his desk, crossing her legs with studied elegance. "David, don't you see that you're being manipulated? This woman is taking advantage of your excessive kindness." "Laura, I'm going to tell you this once. If you try to take Emma away from me, I will destroy you. In court." "How?" David opened the drawer of his desk and pulled out a folder of documents. "Did you forget that I have 5 years of records of your complete absence in Emma's life? All the times you cancelled visits, all the birthdays you missed, all the school performances you didn't attend?" Laura paled. "And there's more," David continued. "I recorded our conversation from Monday. I have evidence of your attempt to bribe Lily, and I can prove that you haven't paid a single cent in child support in these 5 years. David, and do you know what the best part is? Emma is 8 years old. She can express her preference about who she wants to live with, and guess what her choice will be?" Laura was visibly desperate now. "David, please, I know I've made mistakes, but I'm her mother." "You're her biological mother," David corrected. "Lily is the one who is being a real mother." "You can't stop me from seeing my daughter. I've never stopped you. You chose not to see her. And if you want to change that, great. But you have to accept that we are now a family. Me, Lily, and Emma. And if you can't respect that, then you will be cut out of our lives permanently." Laura left the office crying, knowing she had lost the battle before it even began. Michael, who had witnessed part of the conversation from his desk, approached David. "Son, you were tough on her." "I needed to be, Michael. She was trying to destroy my family." "And now?" David smiled, looking at the photo of Emma and Lily that now decorated his desk. "Now I'm going home to have dinner with my fiancée and my daughter, and tomorrow we start planning our wedding." 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning in September, David Harris and Lily Johnson got married in a small ceremony in Mrs. Johnson's backyard. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a light pink dress she had personally chosen, and carried the rings on a satin pillow she had helped sew. Sarah was not invited to the wedding. Laura showed up at the last minute, but stayed discreetly in a corner, knowing her presence was tolerated only because of Emma. "David," Lily whispered during the ceremony, "are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," he replied, kissing her softly. "And what if people keep talking? Let them talk. We have enough love to face anything." When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Emma shouted, "Hooray!" and ran to hug them both. And there, in that perfect moment, David realized he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. A complete family, built not by obligations or social conventions, but by genuine love and unconditional acceptance. Later, when the photos were being taken and the guests were chatting animatedly, Michael approached David. "Son, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "Do you remember what I said on the first day about Sarah wanting to control other people's lives?" "I remember." Michael looked in the direction of the table where Lily was chatting with Mrs. Johnson and Emma, the three laughing at some inside joke. "She wanted to keep you small, limited, dependent on her approval, but Lily made you grow." "How so?" "You became a real man, David. A man who fights for what he loves, who isn't afraid to confront prejudices, who doesn't hide behind excuses." Michael smiled proudly. "Lily didn't change you. She helped you become who you always were inside." That night, on their honeymoon in Aspen, a place Lily had always wanted to visit, David and Lily stood on the balcony of the lodge, watching the mountains under the moonlight. "Lily," David said, hugging his wife from behind, "thank you." "For what?" "For teaching me that true love has nothing to do with perfection. It's about accepting the whole person, wanting to grow together, facing challenges side by side." Lily leaned against him, feeling completely whole for the first time in her life. "David, can I tell you a secret?" "Anything." "When Sarah called me proposing that meeting, I thought it would be just another humiliation in my love life. And was it? It was the opposite. It was the day my life really began. 2 years later, they moved to a larger house in Denver, adapted to Lily's needs, but also with space for Emma to play and for the cat Mozart to run around. David set up his own office, specializing in accessibility projects, and Lily opened a branch of the clinic in the new city. Emma, now 10 years old, swam competitively and proudly talked about her Mom Lily to anyone who would listen. And when her classmates asked questions about the wheelchair, she would respond with the naturalness of someone who grew up understanding that love manifests in many different ways. Sarah never apologized for what she did, but the trap she had set became the foundation of the happiest family David could imagine. And sometimes, on quiet nights, David found himself thinking that perhaps some of the best things in life truly arose from moments that initially seemed the worst. True love, he discovered, knows no limitations. And when two people are willing to fight together, no prejudice in the world is strong enough to separate them